There is an ancient belief that establishes the origin of all monstrous creatures in the iciest places of the world. No one knows how to explain the reason, but the cold seems to have an unnatural property that brings forth the most terrifying beasts ever recorded in the different ages of mankind. However, nowadays this idea seems to be a simple lie, something that no longer exists or that never existed. Unfortunately, the reality seems to be more surprising, and in Alaska there is a chilling case that is ready to surprise anyone who dares to doubt that old saying of the Alaskan natives. Do you dare to find out? Then get ready, because it's time to get started. Although Alaska is the largest state in the United States and the 7th largest in the world, very few people know what is hiding in this land of Arctic climate. And despite its colossal magnitude, it only has a little more than 700,000 inhabitants, a really small number for a place that seems to be full of secrets. It isn't strange that not even the Americans themselves understand very well what happens in Alaska. In fact, for many, it's a real mystery and little is known about it. It's precisely for this reason that no one really cares about the horrors suffered by the inhabitants of this area, at least until chilling findings appear in the news. This is exactly what happened recently when a group of explorers was assessing an area in the Alaskan Arctic, and they came across a creature that does not appear in any guidebook or university encyclopedia. It's the Alaskan giant bear, an unnatural species that is much larger and more aggressive than its brethren in the area. Its presence has terrorized several species that inhabit the different ecosystems of the territory's moorlands, and over the last few years, its appearance has become a more frequent event. Although it may surprise you, Alaska is home to several types of giant bears. All of them coexist more or less harmoniously, despite the fact that the area is home to the Kodiak brown bear, one of the largest and most carnivorous creatures on the planet. However, when it comes to the Alaskan white bear, there is no comparison. This gigantic beast surprises anyone who encounters it, and very few have managed to hunt it. In fact, Alaska has only a couple of records of these wild beasts, and in some of the past accounts, it is described as a mutant and monstrous creature with a destructive force, capable of destroying cars and murdering people with its large claws and iron jaw. What is most interesting about this strange beast is that its history is not only located in Alaska, but some sightings have also been recorded in Greenland and Alberta, in Western Canada, and in Quebec. This seems to indicate that there may be several herds of these creatures which constantly migrate and feed on the flesh of the forests without interfering with human life. Testimonies and sightings of these creatures abound, especially in Canada, where hunters, tourists, and even inhabitants of the area of Alberta and Quebec have reported the presence of these strange creatures to the authorities. But every time they have tried to hunt them to study them or decipher whether it is a myth or a reality, they simply disappear. However, some researchers are now handling the possibility that these giant polar bears are nothing more than a remnant population of the Ursus maritimus tyrannus, better known as the Pleistocene polar bear. According to reports and accounts, this creature perfectly matches the reported sightings. Both share its 11-foot-tall size, its killer instinct, the shape of its jaw and paws, as well as its creamy white color and thick, fluffy fur. This theory had great interest, and in 2015, History Channel 2 created a documented television series called Missing in Alaska. The project team headed to what is known as the Alaskan Triangle, a mysterious area where for the past 20 years people disappear with no explanation other than the presence of strange mythological or monstrous creatures that leave too many creepy clues but no trail to be caught. The program showed a variety of interesting cases that led hunters, tourists, and ordinary citizens to an unexpected death when they fell into the clutches of a strange creature that could well be the giant polar bear. Even Native Americans and Eskimos in the area seem to confirm the presence of this strange monster in lesser-known areas, something that only increases the fear and uncertainty. Although nothing seems as disturbing as the archaeological finding of the last few years, several groups of professionals have begun to work in the area and have come across skulls well preserved by cold on multiple occasions, which frame the features and measurements of a huge creature that isn't common among the polar bears or the Alaskan Arctic. Of course, these remains have sparked all sorts of theories, especially since a huge bear skull was discovered on an Alaskan beach. The bone measures more than 16 inches and has been classified as the fourth largest polar bear skull ever found. The bones are 1,300 years old, and researchers consider it to be a species that has never been classified before. For researchers, it is still a mystery to imagine the real size of this bear, but for Dr. Ann Jensen, it was undoubtedly a monstrous creature that isn't similar to the bears we know. Jensen suspects that the animal may be an ancestor of the king bears or weasel bears, which reach up to 12 feet in length and have features in the front part of the skull that are very similar to those found in the fossil remains. However, no one can rule out that these findings are, rather, evidence of a strange species of giant polar bears that continue to prowl the Arctic environs of the United States and Canada. Surprisingly, archaeologists, researchers, and Native Americans agree that a strange creature once inhabited that area, but all differ on whether it is still alive and lurking or has long since disappeared. Regardless of what their position is, dozens of people disappear in the forests and icy wilderness of Alaska every year, and the only clues left by their killers are traces and tracks that lead to polar bears. No one knows for sure if these creatures will ever be caught, or if their lair will be found in the middle of an exploration of the most inhospitable areas of Alaska. But one thing is certain, all the inhabitants and tourists of these lands are convinced that it is better to believe in this giant bear than to be skeptical, because on the least expected day, when they find themselves walking alone in the forest, the creature could appear to confirm that it is too late to go back home. Still, the Alaskan giant bear is not the most terrifying creature you could encounter in the middle of a forest. There are a dozen other scary things that can rival this beast of the Arctic wilderness. And if you're ready to find out what they are, then all you have to do is join us in the following videos.